To my American friends, good morning and happy VE Day. It was 75 years ago today that Europe was finally over World War II. 75 years ago this week, my uncle rode in to Berlin on a tank with General George S. Patton. It was a time of great excitement, a time of great hope, and a time of great sorrow. But it was a very, very important day. We, Americans, British, Canadians, Free French, we overthrew a government that believed that the color of your skin, your religious belief, your sexual orientation, and your political views were punishable. They employed censorship, they employed indoctrination. They were creating something that was the anathema of anyone who believes in liberty. And that's the American ideal. All men are created equal and bestowed by their Creator inalienable rights, which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When we, the Americans, introduced the Marshall Act in 1946, one of our goals was to bring the American Bill of Rights to Europe. We created a modern democracy in the midst of chaos. No, America did not single-handedly win the war, but she definitely had a very big part in what happened after the war. And as things have been going on recently in the United States, I took a good look at what the Bill of Rights actually says. Bill of Rights were written in 1789 by James Madison. They were ratified. Believe it or not, they were heavily discussed and debated. They're so obvious to us today, but back then, they weren't. The first Bill of Rights starts with the freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, freedom of press, to assembly, to petition your government. The second one, which everybody knows about and is discussing today, is the right to bear arms and to maintain a well-armed militia. The third one seems very odd, which is the no quartering of troops. That's right, you don't have to have soldiers in your house. Number 4, very important today, no unreasonable searches and seizures. Number 5, due process. Number 6, a fair, speedy, and public trial. The right to know who your accusers are. Number 7, trial by jury. Number 8, no excessive bail or cruel and unusual punishments. We don't think about this, but this comes directly out of the Star Chambers of the English Civil War in 1630s. The rights of other people, the enumerated rights, the ones that we don't actually think about but are incredibly important. What are the enumerated rights? Well, they are the rights to own property, the right to get married, the right to privacy, the right to keep and hold money. Yes, that was my cat. And the concepts of an ordered liberty. And that was defined by Chief Justice Warren, along with Justices Harlan, Brennan, and White in the late 1960s. And the last of the Bill of Rights is the powers to the states. And it's very, very specific. It says everything not enumerated in the Constitution belongs to the states. States' rights. Do we remember our rights? Do you remember what this means to us as Americans? Can you imagine how important this is to other countries where these rights are not enshrined? And one of the ways that we lose our rights is through judicial tyranny. Judicial tyranny was at the root of the English Civil War, which is the basis of American democracy. Yes, something that happened in 1630 all the way through 1660 actually had a long effect on American democracy into the 1780s and 90s. It's important to understand, even to this day, judges are to interpret the law. They are not to make the law. The legislatures, which are voted in by you, are to make the law. No judge should be above the will of the people. This is all the way back in Madison's writings. This is back in Hamilton's writings. Judgeship is not a permanent aristocracy and should not be treated that way. If you are unhappy with a judge, you have recourse to see that he or she is removed. Democracy only works if you are involved. Do not allow government overreach. Do not allow interference with your rights. Do not allow judicial obstruction of justice, as we have recently seen in both the Flynn case and the Luther case in Dallas, Texas. Most importantly today, I would ask you to celebrate and never forget what the veterans of World War II did for us. How they lived, how they bled, how they died. How they created this modern Europe. Celebrate that 75 years ago it was made clear that it was not only allowed, but encouraged to be different, to have different thoughts, different behaviors, different ways of looking at things. That's not to say we haven't made mistakes, but we are better today than we were 76 years ago. So I would ask you to please be safe, be healthy, and God bless.